In 2023, German authorities arrested a double agent working for Russia inside the German intelligence agency. A spy who was transmitting dangerous information to Moscow about European support for Ukraine. In previous years, the German intelligence was the target of major cyber attacks, most notably by Russian hackers attempting to breach the networks of the German government. And of course, we must not forget the hacking of Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone, which was carried out by American intelligence agencies. With this scandal being leaked as part of the Snowden revelations. I'm telling you this so that if you think that's all there is to the history of German intelligence and that Germany has a weak intelligence apparatus, you are mistaken. In this video, we will learn more about the history of German intelligence and the toughest organization in history, the Gestapo, and the world of espionage is full of secrets and stories, especially when we talk about the history of German intelligence. Germany has witnessed many changes throughout its history, including divisions and world wars, espionage operations that changed the course of history, and other operations that failed and served as harsh lessons for the Germans. Beginning with the era of the Kaiser's Empire and World War I, through the terrifying Gestapo in Nazi Germany, and the division of intelligence into East and West during the Cold War, and finally after the reunification of Germany and the emergence of the modern intelligence agency, German intelligence began in 1889 after the establishment of WWII, a security organization specialized in handling a set of tasks in the German city of Prussia. Its tasks were to gather information on Germany's enemies at the time, such as France and Russia. During World War I, this section evolved and its role expanded, becoming a mix between intelligence and security as it collected intelligence information and uncovered enemy spies. In addition, it was responsible for monitoring the mail, the press, and wartime propaganda. The role of German intelligence was huge, as it was literally responsible for all state security matters, both internal and external. Although the efforts of this intelligence section at the time were not as strong as you might imagine, due to several factors such as low funding and the lack of recruiting spies, with information being gathered through trips carried out by the German army officers themselves. The weakness of the apparatus became apparent at the beginning of World War I. On top of all that, Germany was one of those states that did not possess a secret internal police like other countries. This secret police was the device that monitored dissenters and the internal climate of the country. As long as we bring up the history of repression, it is clear that Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler would play a role in this matter. In 1933, after Adolf Hitler assumed power in Nazi Germany, steps were taken to establish a secret state police apparatus, a task entrusted to Hitler's first aide, Hermann Göring, who was the interior minister of Germany's largest province, Prussia. Years earlier, the Nazis had crushed all political opposition in Germany, and even the international resistance was silenced. Despite planning for war, Hitler's spies knew every little detail in the world. One of the leaders among these spies was Reinhard Heydrich, who assumed command of the Nazi intelligence agency, the Gestapo, after Hermann Göring in 1934. The second was Admiral Wilhelm Kehr, the head of the Foreign Espionage and Intelligence Service. Of course, all of them were under the leadership of the head of the SS forces, Heinrich Himmler. Heydrich managed to control all of Germany using force, intimidation, and brute power. He had the authority to spy on the political enemies of the Nazi Party. In the span of 7 years, Heydrich turned Germany into the most police-driven state in all of Europe, and he became one of the most terrifying figures in Europe, despite being only 34 years old. In 1936, all political and intelligence sections were merged, and the Gestapo was reformed with a stronger team of professional officers. The main objective of establishing the Gestapo was to protect the German state and the Nazi Party. That is why Hitler changed the German law so that the organization had absolute powers and was not subject to any legal oversight, in order to become the central heart of the country's administration and to monitor the performance of internal and external state affairs by any means necessary. Since then, the Gestapo undertook many tasks, including dealing with security regarding competing political parties to the Nazi Party, especially communist movements, and monitoring other activities such as the arrest of religious and ethnic minorities like the Jews, transporting them to concentration and extermination camps. The Gestapo became the iron fist of the Nazi regime within Germany, and in the territories they occupied, no form of opposition to Hitler existed. Imagine that any person who dared to oppose Hitler could literally disappear at the hands of the Gestapo. Their mere name instilled terror in Europe. Let me tell you, they were responsible for rounding up the Jews and deporting them in frames to send them to death camps. At the beginning of World War II, the Gestapo was active throughout occupied Europe, establishing underground headquarters in areas affiliated with the German army. Although Germany was fully engaged in World War II, the Gestapo had multiple eyes and handled internal German affairs as well as various opposition movements, be they religious, student, or even military conspiracies, which were completely eradicated. This is similar to what happened with the White Rose group of students in 1942 and 1943. Gestapo agents arrested a large number of students, carried out a major execution campaign, and completely eliminated any form of student opposition by 1943. Specifically, in January 1943, Heydrich appointed Heinrich Müller as the head of the Gestapo, which was then known as Office 4, after Heydrich's assassination. Office 4 consisted of 5 sections. The first was specialized in political opposition, whether communists, saboteurs, liberals, and protective services. The second was specialized in religious sects, both Catholic and Protestant, in addition to Jewish affairs, and the Masonic movements. The third section was specialized in war matters. The fourth was specialized in managing and administering occupied foreign territories outside the Reich's borders. And the fifth and final section was responsible for security and combating espionage. The Gestapo continued to dominate Germany and Europe until 1945, when after Hitler's defeat in World War II and the collapse of Nazi Germany, the remaining heads of the organization announced its dissolution on May 8, 1945. Following the famous Nuremberg trials, many members of the organization were executed, including its founder Hermann Göring, who escaped a death sentence but committed suicide by poisoning himself in 1946. Although the Gestapo came to an end, the era of German intelligence did not. After World War II, Germany was divided into 2 states. West Germany, under the control of the West, represented by America and its allies, and East Germany, under the control of the Soviet Union. With the division of Germany, the intelligence apparatus was split. One part served West Germany, and the other served Communist East Germany. Each part of the German intelligence worked for another intelligence service, whether the American CIA or the Soviet KGB. This began a long period and a vast history of the spy war known as the Cold War. Even though the Cold War was between the United States and the Soviet Union, its main center was Germany, specifically Berlin, which at the time was a battlefield for espionage. If you haven't watched our video that explains in detail the 45-year-long Cold War, I've left the link above or in the description or in the comments, or you can check our channel where the video is available. The United States was very keen on West Germany having a strong intelligence apparatus that could help face the Soviet Union and counter the spread of communism. That is why they resorted to one of the most dangerous German spies, Reinhard Gehlen, who was forced to join the Americans in order to keep him away from war crimes trials. The deal involved keeping him out of international trials in exchange for gathering intelligence for America. With the help of the Americans, Gehlen was able to establish the Gehlen Organization, which included 350 former Nazi officers, all of whom were part of the Gestapo. This institution was formed in 1946 and was the nucleus of Western intelligence. It was essentially an intelligence network gathering information about the Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc countries for the benefit of the United States. Despite the strength of the Gehlen Organization, it was merely an extension of the CIA's eyes. Nevertheless, the CIA and the American military aimed to eliminate the organization, fearing a gathering of German spies who had previously belonged to the Nazi Party. Indeed, the CIA began to struggle with the organization, especially as members of the Gehlen Organization continued to pursue their own interests. German spies working in the Gehlen Organization were helping Nazi war criminals escape Europe through a secret smuggling network. At that time, the project funded by the American CIA was contributing to the destabilization of Europe in favor of South America. Despite all this, the CIA benefited significantly from the Gehlen Organization, as its spies managed to gather a large amount of intelligence from East Germany under Soviet control. Moreover, the deceptive information provided by the Gehlen Organization regarding Soviet armament and the nuclear race influenced CIA decisions, as they considered it unwise to. However, in reality, most of the important information provided by the organization was not genuine and was merely a ruse to allow them to continue their work. On the other hand, in communist East Germany, intelligence took a different path. The Soviet Union helped establish a formidable intelligence agency for Germany called the Ministry for State Security, famously known as the Stasi. The Stasi was officially established in 1950, just months after the founding of the German Democratic Republic. It was essentially a mini version of the KGB, built on the KGB model. We also made a complete video about the KGB that summarizes everything from its history until its dissolution at the hands of Mikhail Gorbachev. You can check that out on our channel. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet and you're interested in this content, all you need to do is support us with a like for the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so that all our upcoming videos reach you as soon as they're released. Let's continue. The Stasi was responsible for internal state security by monitoring the populace and suppressing dissent, and was in charge of espionage outside East Germany, specifically in West Germany. The organization reached the peak of its power under the leadership of Erich Mielke, who took charge of the agency in 1957, transforming it into a true monster within East Germany. The officers of the Stasi infiltrated citizens' lives and had eyes everywhere in East Germany. In every factory, every street, and even in every home. They worked with each other so effectively that by 1989, before the collapse of the Soviet Union and the fall of the Berlin Wall, the number of informal informants and collaborators with the Stasi had reached about 500,000, in addition to 100,000 official employees within the agency itself. The Stasi was much stronger than the Gehlen organization, especially since the Gehlen organization had ended in 1955 after the independence of West Germany and its alignment with NATO. In 1956, an official intelligence agency was established in the country, the BND, which is the abbreviation for the Federal Intelligence Service. Although Gehlen was the first head of the BND and served until 1968, during the period in which the two agencies operated, those trained in East and West Germany, the majority were spies belonging to the Zaschlong, a Shazlong, working for the Soviets in secret. For 10 years, they managed to leak thousands of secret documents and the names of agents until one was arrested in 1961 and tried in West Germany. Of course, all the spies planted within West German intelligence were under the command of the espionage genius Markus Wolf, who was known in the West as the man without a face, because during the 4 or 3 years he worked in the Stasi, no one ever managed to see his true face. The war between the Stasi and the BND continued in this manner for a very long period, until the German people woke up in 1989 upon hearing the news of the collapse of the communist regime in East Germany and the fall of the Great Berlin Wall. At that time, the German people revolted against the Stasi, and hundreds of protesters stormed the main Stasi headquarters in Berlin on January 15, 1990, preventing Stasi officers from burning their secret files in order to preserve evidence of their crimes of oppression against the German people in service of the communist regime. In the same year, the agency was officially dissolved, and East and West Germany united into one state again, ushering in a new era for German intelligence. The Federal Republic of Germany relied on the BND as the official intelligence agency of the state, an agency that succeeded in cleansing Germany of the Soviet spies of the 70s who were working for the Stasi, such as Rainer Ropp. At the beginning of the new millennium, the world changed, and with it the roles of the BND shifted. Instead of solely confronting the Soviet Union and Western spies, new challenges emerged, such as international terrorism and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. In the 2000s, Germany returned as an important economic power in Europe, and its interest expanded along with the activities of the BND, which began to monitor and track terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. However, despite this, the BND was not as strong as the Gestapo or the Stasi, and several scandals emerged within modern German intelligence, such as transmitting false information about the existence of biological weapons in Iraq, and the huge controversy in Germany in 2013 after it was discovered that the American NSA was spying on the phones of European leaders, including Chancellor Angela Merkel. It later turned out that the BND itself had cooperated with the NSA in monitoring European targets. In 2016, intelligence laws were amended to regulate the agency and ensure parliamentary oversight of its activities, and in 2019 the BND moved its headquarters to a new building in central Berlin, making it one of the largest intelligence headquarters in the world, sending a message to the world that German intelligence is back. I want to tell you that today's video is over, but it is only a prelude to the operations we will mention in upcoming videos. A prelude that introduces you to what the Gestapo is, what the Stasi is, and what the BND is. In the coming period, let us know in the comments if you would like us to delve deeper into many operations, especially those of the three agencies. And don't forget to support us with a like for this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell icon so you receive every new video as soon as it comes out. Thank you, and goodbye.